Hello everybody, Corey here. In this video we are going to go over the trades for Friday and today, or Monday, Friday the 17th of May and Monday the 20th of May. Just a reminder, I am not a qualified and licensed investment or financial advisor. All I'm here to do is gather the data and present it to you so you can look through it along with the other information that you already have and know, and make your own decisions and form your own opinions. Just a reminder, YieldMax ETFs are extremely risky, and please ensure that you have read through all the risk and know what you're investing in before doing so. Okay, so I apologize. I had drill this weekend, and every night I thought I'd do videos, and then in the end I just didn't. Drill just takes a lot out of me, on top of the week and the videos and long nights on top of all of that. So in the end I basically got up, I went to drill, and I came back and went to bed. So I apologize. Of course I have all the data because I did do all the data on Friday night. I didn't have I couldn't stay awake to do the videos as I had to get up early for drill. So what we will do here is I'm going to go over the trades for Friday, today, and then we'll look at the holdings, okay? We'll try to get through this fairly quickly, but I know there'll be a gap in there for any of you that do actually follow these and watch these daily. There'll be a gap and you'll wonder what happened. So this will probably be a longer video than normal. I'm not sure how quick I could get through it, or what I could skip, but feel free. I'm going to suggest to probably put me on 2 times speed here, or 1.5, whatever you can do on YouTube, as it is late today, as I'm trying to play catch up and get these out as well. All right, so let me get this lined up, because I'm just going to move my tab, because we're going to go from here straight to the holdings, and the holdings will have whatever trades were from today on it. So let me zoom in for all you on your phone, so make sure you can view. I know how that is, because I watch just about everything on my phone. Sometimes I'll watch stuff on my iPad, but if I'm out or whatever, I'm always on my phone. And I know a lot of people do their stuff on computers and stuff, and you can't figure out, or you can't see what's on there. So I do try to always remember to zoom in for everybody. All right, got me something to drink, so I will be ready for this. We're going to start here with AIYY. And the one thing I forgot to mention also, on top of listening to me at fast speed, if you only want to see certain ETFs, I'm going to do, one ETF all at a time. So I'll do Friday's trades, today's trades, and the holdings. So feel free to fast forward to the specific ETF that you want to look at, okay? Okay, so AIYY. So Friday, they had, they actually closed out of the synthetic position that they had. Let's see. It didn't expire till Friday, but what they did is they moved it from the strike price of $25 to $27 here. And then they took the short call that expired on Friday and rode it to this Friday, May 24th. They used all of those shares there, and they went from a $24.50 strike price to a $28 strike price. And so we can see over here, if we just look at the total amount of the trades, they brought in $829,000. Now, if we go to day's holding, they didn't have any trades here. So then we can see here the synthetic positions, which has a strike price of $27.50, but they are underneath that strike price by 4%. As it's closed today, they're at $26.50 or 51. But we had the short call that expires this week with the $28. We're currently underneath that by 5%. And it looks like we have a possible upside of about 67 cents for that short call till it hits its $28 strike price. So if we move on to AMDY, so Friday, they, similar to AIYY, they rolled that synthetic position with the same expiration date from a 150 strike price to a 165 strike price. And you can see all those prices there. I'm sure you don't mean to read all of those, but then if we go down, they closed out the short calls that expired on Friday with the 157.50 and the 160 strike price. Now, if you look over here, AMDY closed at 164.46. So they were above both of these strike prices right here when they closed them out, which is the reason for it costing about $4.4 something million there to close those out. And then they, let's see, 69.35. Okay, so here, then they rolled them to here, but then they also end up having a stock up here at the top. And then that is going to equal that. Yep. So that equals 69.35 total. Because if you take 200 divided by 100, that's your 2 extra contracts there. But anyway, so that what in total they brought in almost $6.8 million for these trades. And then if we go to today, we didn't have any trades, so we'll go straight look at the holdings here. Looks like AMD closed at 166.33. So we are above our synthetic by 1% and below our short call by 5%. And then if we look over on the right, it looks like we have a possible upside of about 87 cents for the short call. All right, so let's go on to AMZ. So AMZ, so what they ended up doing, they had 2 short calls that expired on Friday with 187.50 and 190 strike price. So in the end of the day, it was 184.70. So they were actually below both of those, but not sure when they closed them out. But yeah, they ended up only paying 5 2 cents to close those out. And then 51.25, 50. Okay, because this would be one that they had extra left over from the day before, which would have been the 320. So this and this add together would be these two. And this is where they had closed out of some and then did not use all of the contracts that they closed out of. So then they opened up, what they did, they added to 2 of the short calls that they already had, or actually I guess it's 1, because they're both 187.50 here. Yeah, it's just this one they paid $1.27 for that many contracts, and this one it was $1.28 a share for this many contracts. Even though it's the same strike price, they paid a little bit different price per share there. And then we have a new position that they opened up down here at the bottom with the 190 strike price for 2,000 contracts there. All right. So then if we go to today's holdings for AMZ, they also today added 115 contracts to the synthetic position and added 115 contracts to the 187.50 strike price for that short call. So we have two short calls now that will expire Friday, 187.50 and the 190. We're currently underneath those by 2 and 3% as we closed at 183.54, which was down, which is down a little bit from Friday. Of course, it looks like AMC only dropped 3 cents while Amazon dropped $1.16. But anyway, so it looks like we have dropped, or we are underneath our synthetic position a little bit, but we have a couple of months here. So if we look over here to the side, it looks like we have, well, our contracts, the majority of our contracts are sitting at the 187.50. So it looks like we have about a 31 cent upside for the short calls here. And if we go up any more of that, it's just because the synthetic positions, the synthetic would be valued, the value would be going up more than the synthetic is bringing the stock down. But we'll worry about that if we can even get up to that strike price, right? All right, so let's look at Apple here. So Apple, they did this on several of these. They took the synthetic position. They rolled that up from a 185 strike price to a 190 strike price. And then what they did, they've started adding these together, which then makes it a little more complicated. But they also, you can see here, because these don't match, that they added, I was fixing to say the wrong number, 65 contracts. So they added 65 to the synthetic positions, and then we have a 65 down here that would go with that. And then that means if we add these two, yep, then those two will be together. Sorry, just to make that a little easier to follow and understand. So they close those, open these, but then there's 65 there for each of those. And then the short calls here that will go together. We had the ones that expired on Friday with the 185 and a 187.50 strike price. And those are, you can see we had the same number of contracts here, the 33.15. But these that they closed out now will be for this Friday with different strike prices, 190 and 192.50 there. And overall, they ended up bringing in $1.05 million for Apple. And then if we go to today, we did not have any trades for today. And so we have two short calls for this week with the strike prices of 190, 192.50. The Apple did close today at 191.04. So it closed in between those. So it's 1% above the 190 and 1% below the 192.50. The majority of the contracts are sitting at the 192.50, which is 2,835 contracts. So it looks like for the short calls themselves, there is a little bit of upside here, maybe 10 cents here, because we do still have 515 contracts sitting at the 190 strike price. So I don't know if it'll be able to go up the whole 10 cents for the short calls themselves. Again, it could go up some if the synthetic market value increases higher than the short call brings the stock price down. But let's look at Coney. So Coney here, they had 6 short calls that expired on Friday. So they closed at 207.60. So you can see all of those strike prices 207, except for the one. They did not close above this one. Of course, we don't know when they closed these out during the day. We're just looking at the close price. But for that one, they paid 57 cents to close out. The other ones you see 6 cents, 1 cent, 2 cent, 1 cent, and then 19 cents. So overall, they did pretty good there last week. And then you can see those were all closed out. And then we have our new short call here for this week with a 222.50 strike. And I think we just went above that. But we'll see. So that's 22.430, yeah. But overall, on Friday's trades, they brought in almost $6.8 million. But now we go to today, and they did end up adding 430 contracts. So they added those to the synthetic, and then they created a new short call today with a $230 strike price. So it closed today, we ended at 225.19. The last time I looked at it this evening, we were at 229. I don't have my phone on me to look, but the last time I saw Bitcoin, we hit 71,500. So we weren't even above 70,000 when we closed today. So yeah, I don't know what they're going to do here, if they're going to try to close these out in the morning or not. But you would think if they might have thought about doing that this afternoon. I don't know. I guess they figure to see what happens. But anyway, we'll move over here. There is no upside for the short calls. If the stock goes up, it's because of the, again, the synthetic going up faster than the short calls are bringing the stock down, which is what I've seen the past week. I have seen that happen. I don't know if it's always in all cases or not, but just to bring that up there. It just may not go up as fast as it normally would, since the short calls would be maxed out, or they would be over the short calls, however you want to state it or look at it. All right, so let's go to Dizzo. Dizzo closed out the short calls that were going to expire on Friday with the 104 and 107 strike price. And then they ended up rolling those to this week with a 105 strike price. And then for today, I don't believe they had any trades. They did not. So we start the week off with 105 strike prices for the synthetic and the short call. And it looks like that Disney went down today. So for our short call here, it looks like we have about 37 cents of upside for that if we can go up. The stock did go down 3 cents today. However, Dizzo ended up going down, 35 cents today. All right, so let's look at Phoebe. So on Friday, they had a short call. It expired with a 485 strike price. Meta closed at 471.91. They closed those out. It only cost 3 cents a share to close them out. And then they created new positions that will expire this Friday with strike prices of 482.50 and 485. All right, and they did not have any trades for today. So then we have, we'll go straight into this. We have our 2 short calls. They expire this week. 42.50 and 45 were both underneath those strike prices by 3%. And looking here, you might have about 30 cent upside specific to the short calls. And then I went ahead and had GDXY added here. Of course, it will not start trading until tomorrow, but we have 2 short calls, a $38 and a $38.50 strike price, which were under by 2 or 3%. Our synthetic position is a $38 strike price, and we're underneath that by 2% right now. So yeah, like I said, we don't have this one yet, so it's not going to give any possible upsides or anything over here because we don't even have a stock price yet. Which, I mean, we know it's going to open up at $20. You can see right here that the NAV is $20. $3 million in assets with 150,000 outstanding shares, because that's what they're starting with, right? But we are prepared for this for tomorrow. All right, so then let's go back for GUI. GUI on Friday, they closed out the synthetic 170 strike price, rolled it to a 175 strike price. And then they closed out the short call that expired on Friday and rolled it to this Friday from a 172.50 to a 177.50 strike price. Overall, their trades, they brought in $706,000. And there were no trades for today. So we have one short call with the 177.50, and today we closed at 176.92. So we are only 58 cents below that strike price. Sorry, just looking. So we're really close to that. So it looks like we only have a few cents there for at least upside for the short call itself, since we're almost at that strike price. All right, if we go on down to JPMO, again, they rolled their synthetic from 195 to a 200 strike price, which is weird, funny, because they actually dropped to about 195 today. But anyway, there's all your data for that. And then they had two short calls that expired on Friday with the strike prices at 200 and 202.50. And the new strikes for this week is 210 and 207.50. Overall, they brought in $247,000 in trades on Friday. As you can see, for Monday, they did not have any trades. So we were going into the week with the two short calls, 207.50, which were under by 6%, and the 210, which were under by 7%. As you can see, we closed at 195.58. And Friday, we had closed at 204.79. So we've dropped about $9 there. If we look at our short calls here, possible upside is, somewhere around 50 cents here. They're not quite split equally, but they're fairly close on those short calls there. All right, so let's look at Murni. So Murni here closed out some synthetics, rolled it from a 120 to a 130 strike price. And then they had one short call that expired on Friday with a 131 strike price. We closed at 132.90. So they ended up paying $2.60 to close out that short call for Friday, which it actually only had, looks like 40 contracts on it. So that's good. And then they ended up... Okay, so then they ended up opening up a new position that expires this Friday with a 138 strike price there. So you can see all those totals, but then overall it looks like $2.37 million is what was brought in for those. And then if we go down, we can see today they actually had to close out of 80 contracts for the synthetics, and they closed out of the 138 strike price there. So we go into the week with two short calls with 137 and 138 strike price, but we actually came up like $8 today. So we closed at 141.01. So we were already over those strike prices by 2 and 3%. So we don't have any upside there for those short calls themselves. However, the stock price could still go up based on the synthetic value there, market value. All right, let's move on to MSFO. So MSFO closed synthetics on Friday. They had a 410 strike price. They moved it to a 420 strike price. And you can see all the numbers there. And then they had the two short calls that expired on Friday with a 415 and a 425 strike price. And they paid $4 to close that one out. So let's look. Yeah, they ended up closing on Friday at 420.21. So they rolled those to this week with a 425 strike price. And all they brought in over $1.1 million. It looks like they didn't make any trades today. So if we look at the holdings, they have one short call for the week, which is a 425 strike price, and we closed today at 425.34. So we're already over that strike price, so no upside for the short call itself, but possibly for the synthetic. Let's move on to Misty. So Misty closed, rolled the synthetic from a 1,300 strike price to a 1,540 strike price. By doing so, they brought in a lot of money. But that's because they had to pay to close out the short call that expired on Friday. So if you look just to open and close the synthetics there, they brought in $21.5 million. And you see for them to close out the short call Friday, it cost almost $24 million to close that out. So, because the strike price there was 1,280 right there, and we closed at almost $1,600. Meow, what? So it ended up costing them $261.50 a share there to close those out. What are you doing, kitty? So anyway, then they open up a new position for this week. That will expire on Friday with a strike price of $18.30. And if any of you have been following, we were in the 1700s today. So let's go look at that. And all you can see they brought in after all of those, 25 millions and different trades there, they brought in $40,000. So if we look over here to today, there were no trades. MicroStrategy closed at 1727. I know in after hours is at one point I saw it at least at 1760 because Bitcoin had at least gone up to 71,500. That was the last time I looked at it. So we will probably be past this short call tomorrow. But we will see. And it looks like a possibility of about a $2 upside for that short call. All right, let's see what we had for Nefli. So Nefli Friday had two short calls that expired with a 630 and 635 strike price. They paid 4 and 2 cents to close those out. For this week, they rode those to this week with a 630 strike price there for those 750 contracts. They ended up bringing in $354,000. And then we didn't have any trades for today. But that 630 strike price for a short call, we're already over it. We closed today at 640.82. So we're above that almost $11. So we have no upside for the short call, but possibly for a little bit for the synthetic there. So let's look at NVIDIA. NVIDIA, we had a short call that expired on Friday with a 920 strike price. And we closed at 924.79. So we paid $14 a share to close those, and then created a position for this week with a 975 strike price, bringing in a little bit of money there. So we brought in almost $4 million. Now, I heard this one going today, but I don't recall any prices. So we don't have any trades, but it looks like it only closed at 947.80. This is not as up as much as I thought it would be based on everybody else. But we have two short calls for this week, a 950 and a 975. So we're only 220 away from that one, and it looks like our contracts are split between these two. So we have the the $975 strike price. We're below that by 3%. Ooh, if we look over here on the side, it shows we only have about 3 cents to that next strike price. So not much upside here, maybe 10 or so cents, for the short calls, but then the rest of the upside's basically just coming from the synthetic there. All right, let's go look at OARC. So OARC, we had two short calls that expired on Friday with the strike prices of 44 and 44.50, which we closed at 45.45. So we were above both of those strike prices. So it cost over $1.5 million to close those out. Then they opened up positions for this week with a $46 strike price. It wasn't even enough to cover, though, but the cost of one of those. So overall, it looks like they ended up having to dish out or pay out here $895,000 for these. So if we go, we didn't have any trades here for today. But now we can see here we only have one short call for the week with a $46 strike price. We're underneath that only by 40 cents. We have about 16,000 contracts there. It's crazy. But that's because this is one of the OGs here. But it looks like a possibility of like 10 cents up for the upside for the short call itself. Before we hit that $46 strike price. So then if we move on to PayPay. PayPay Friday had two short calls that expired. They closed at 64.48. The strikes were 65 and 66. So they only paid 2 cents to close those out. And then they just rolled them with the exact same strike prices to this week. All right, they ended up bringing in $118,000 there. And then if we go to today, we did not have any trades here. So we just have those two strike prices, and we closed at 64.77. So we're underneath the $65 strike price by 23 cents. And then, of course, the 66, $1.23 or 2%. Looks like we, could have maybe 10 cent upside here. We only have 1,000 contracts at the $65 and about 1,800 at the $66. All right, so let's go to SQUE. So we had two short calls that expired on Friday, $73 and $74 strikes. And then they rolled those this week with $74 and $75 strikes. You can see here all of our numbers. And you can see over here, overall, they brought in $35,000 for SQUE. And then you can see here today, they added another 120 contracts to the synthetic and to the $75 short call. So they closed at $73.54, so only 46 cents from the $74 strike price, and $1.46 from the $75 strike price, because we're only underneath those 1% and 2% there. The majority of the contracts, though, 75% of them are sitting at the $75 strike. So if we look over here, maybe we have an upside of maybe about 20 cents there for these short calls. All right, let's just glance at Tesla, even though I know Rod's already looked at them. I have not looked at them because I don't look at them until I do the video with y'all, so I don't even know what's going on. So we had the short calls that expired on Friday, the 172.50 and the 175 strike prices there. Ooh, we ended up paying $8.6 million to close those out. So we closed Friday at 177.46. So we were above both of those strike prices. All right, so then they rolled those to this week with 180 and 185 strike price. And then they also had contracts that they had not used from the previous day, so they actually ended up doing 32,000 there. Overall, they ended up paying out $2.88 million. So we go over here to Tesla, no trades for today. So we had the two short calls here, the 180, 185. We're almost at 175 today, which is actually one of our synthetic strike prices, 175, and then we had the 180. So if we look over here on the right, looks like we have a possible upside of maybe, I don't know, 50, 60 cents here for the short calls. And then let's look at Zomo, getting to the end. Okay, so Zomo had a short call that expired on Friday with the 118 strike price. They, let's see, they closed at 119.64. So that's crazy. So they closed that one out. Cost them $1 a share pretty much. And then they only moved it to a strike price of 119, in which we were above that at close on Friday. So let's see what we looked like today. So we closed at 118.67, so it went down $1. So we're barely underneath it. All right, so anyway, then today they added 35 new contracts to the synthetic and created a new short call with the 120 strike price. So now we have 119 and 120. We're under the 119 by 33 cents. But this is where the majority of our contracts are, and then we have just 35 at the 120 strike price, which we're only under by 1%. So look like we got about 5 cents upside for the short call there. All right, and let's move on to Crash. We didn't have any trades today, but Friday they... All right, so let's look at the contracts. So the first three lines, they ended up okay, so that's did they combine transactions here? I don't know why there would be, but there appears to be an issue here. And what I mean issue here, possible issue in my formulas, but I've been using these, so I don't know why there would be an issue. And I only say that because of this. So these two together is 181, and 181 minus 18 makes 163. So that tells me that they closed out of 18 contracts, which means, they would sell 18 of the short puts, which would be right, and then they'd sell 18 of the synthetic put and call, which is right. But the long call, for some reason here, says open instead of closed. So that... I don't even know why that was saying new. Alright, so I need to look to see what's going on with my formula there. Because those should be closed. And then what they did, so they closed 18, 18, 18, and then 18 of these would have been the short put to go with those. Then the remaining is what is rolled from here to here. Sorry, they're just combining transactions now, so it's just not as clear to see, but that's what they've done here. And then, so they had the 163 for this week at the 172.50 strike price. And they didn't have any trades for today, so that just leaves... Yeah, so we have 193, 193, 193, so all those look good. So the short puts at the 162.50 and the 172.50. So we're above that. We're above those, 8 and 1%. And then we have our long call, which is a 265 strike price. We're underneath that by 34%. Then we have two synthetic positions here. We have a 170 and 180. So we are above and below there 3% to the strike price. So let's look over here on the side. So we can see these synthetics together. Looks like it's bringing the stock price down 60 cents. And that's the long call on the bottom. Yep. And then we have our two short puts there. All right. And then that is it. Yep. Besides just those prices down there. But yep, that's it. Sorry though, I didn't get these out Friday, so y'all could have looked at them this weekend and be prepared for Monday. But I do apologize. Anyway, I will talk to y'all later. Thanks for hanging out. Bye.